Hello everyone, this is Money Mom. Welcome to the channel. Today I want to chat with you guys about 4 items our family can no longer afford, or we're basically priced out of now at this point. Let's get started and talk about it. I know I've said before, hey, let's not use that word we can no longer afford, but I do think there's some exceptions to the rule on that. And on our current income, it would be challenging to afford and pay cash for these items. With careful planning, we may be able to afford some of them. The first, home. I mentioned this before, but the homes in our area, and we live in a lower middle class area. You know, I remember when we purchased this house for $65,000 in 1997. That same house, our same house, would go for about $265,000, and I'm going to tell you right now, these homes in this neighborhood are not worth that at all. Homes here around here are selling anywhere from $230,000, depending on the kind, to $320,000, and the houses aren't that nice. Let me tell you, it depends on the price. But the ones I noticed that they're trying to price for around $300,000, they're just sitting there. So they're not going anywhere because people are not, maybe they can't afford those kind of payments. So what would I do if I had to move? We would have to sell our house and maybe get a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, because going with 1 bathroom is a lot cheaper and you save a lot of money by doing that. Wouldn't be ideal. We'd have to major downsize everything if we wanted to stay in the area and just rent a very small place and become a minimalist. Or we would maybe have to find ways to increase income. Or another thing is possibly move to a smaller town with more affordable housing. And there are some areas I know in Kansas and Missouri and Oklahoma that have some affordable places. So we'd have to look at all of our options and see which one is best. That's the thing. Some of these things are not ideal and it can be frustrating, but moaning and groaning about it doesn't help. So you have to throw all your options, do a brain dump, and figure out what will be the best option for you. Okay, the next one is homeowners insurance. We're still able to afford it, but we may be making some changes with it. There's actually some folks that I know that have gone what I call bare, and they don't have homeowners insurance at all. They live in Florida, and they just said it just keeps going up, and their homeowners was over $500 a month, and they said it just keeps going higher and higher, and we can't afford it. So what they're doing is they're taking that money and putting it in savings and setting it aside. I also know some folks that they basically took out their liability. They increased their what I call their deductible really, really high. And so that's how they're affording it. And then they're trying to make sure they've got a lot of money in a home repair savings account because they just can't afford for these prices to keep going up, and they don't feel like they're getting any value for it. So if our homeowners kept going up, that what could we do? We could keep shopping around, look at what options are out there. We could increase our deductible, you know, to decrease the personal liability. We could do all of those types of things. We possibly might move to a different area. We'd have to look at all these options, weigh pros and cons. Always though, and one thing people forget about is there's always ways to increase income. People forget about that. And I think someone said, hey, you forgot to mention increasing income. Maybe I did, but that is something to always look at. Finding ways to make more money is always a great option. Number 3, a vehicle. I've mentioned this before in a separate video. Not sure what I will do about our next vehicle, if we'll get one or how long this one will last. We tend to get new to us vehicles every 8 to 10 years, depending on what's happened. The last 2 before this Ford were Toyotas, but when we went to go purchase a car, there was not any Toyotas available. Because someone's like, why didn't you buy a Toyota? Well, there wasn't any available, because that would have been our first choice. This vehicle, though, a Ford Fusion, has been a really good car, so we're very happy with it. But the average used car is around $30,000. What would we do if we couldn't afford it? Well, I would look at all the options. Could we buy a 15-year-old car for, say, $10,000, $12,000? Don't drive it around as much. Keep it, you know, up to date as much as possible. Make sure that the repairs are done on it, and maybe just get liability insurance. We could do something like that and make sure we've always got money set aside. We could take public transportation. It's a little more challenging where we live to do that because we're in a suburb of Dallas. We could take Uber sparingly and then have a lot of our groceries and things delivered here. So that would be another option. So looking at all options. Also, an option, which isn't a great one for me because I have all my family, a lot of my family and friends here because my friends are my family, is moving could always be an option. Okay, last but not least, central heating and air. Now, our heater we just recently paid off. It was close to $10,000 just for that. And the prices just keep going up on it. The air conditioning portion, which is called the compressor, which is outdoors, hasn't been 5 years ago yet. That was with the thermostat $6,000. Well, now I'm hearing they're about $8,000 or $9,000 now. So if you had to buy an entire heating and air conditioning unit, so central heating and central air, depending on what you get, the lowest end would maybe be $14,000 up to like $22,000, depending on many factors. So how do people afford that if they can't afford the payments? One thing that I've seen some people do, I know someone that their central air went out. They could not afford a new one. They just went and they got all window units. It's maybe not ideal, but if I couldn't afford a central air conditioning system, I would probably get window units if I had to. Or I would just cut back in other areas and save for it and really do my research to get the best value and the best deal. So these are some things that I would do. I know there's a lot of options out there. We just have to put our heads together. And I always say this, making more money is always one of the best options in my book. Before signing off, I'm doing a shout out. Many of you know her, Coffee with Kate, who's taken some time away from YouTube, and she's been writing books. She just released a book, which I've had the honor of reading, called A Feast of Life. It's in my Amazon store. It is about frugal living, but she puts a special twist on it, which I really like. So it's not your typical frugal living book. And so that's what I enjoy about it a lot. And it's just a positive look at frugal living and abundance. So if you're interested, check it out in my Amazon store. Let me know how you guys are saving money. One question, is there anything you feel like you're priced out of and you can no longer afford? And if you can't, what are you doing about it? And what are some positive, actionable steps that we can take to live an abundant life on less in these areas? That's all I have to say for now. I love you, I appreciate you, and I sure hope to see you on tomorrow morning's video. Bye-bye now.